let's talk about last night first thing and recap the excitement that went down at Citizens Bank Park with our friend Jim Salisbury joining us. Jim, hello, happy Tuesday, happy NL East Championship Day, or whatever you want to call this day. Last night, the Phillies with a great win over the Cubs behind Aaron Nola's tremendous pitching. We'll get into the specifics. Had a chance to lock in for the first NL East title since 2011. Jim, you've been around a lot of teams. First things first, last night's the vibes, the experience, the celebrations. Can you put into words and describe what that moment was in your eyes?
Yeah, there's like two elements to it. There's the baseball game that they needed to go out and win to clinch the NL East. It kind of had been we had known it was pointing this way for a while. A little stumble in New York. They're having trouble punching in from the red zone, but they came home in front of their home fans where they've played great this year. Played a great ball game. I mean, when you win the division, you want to play a great ball game, and terrific start from Aaron Nola, 6 innings, teetered a little bit in the 7th. Strom comes in, gives him a big lift. Then Hoffman comes in, overpowers the Cubs. Estevez closes it out. So great work from the pitching staff. Big hits by 2 of this team's classiest pros and best leaders in Kyle Schwarber and JT Realmuto. And the young guy, Johan Rojas, what a game he had with 2 sacrifice bunts. And he was on the hitting end of a successful hit and run that sent Brandon Marsh to third base. So if and he made a great catch in center field. If Johan Rojas can contribute like that in a ball game in October, get big hits, big performances from your best pitchers, it could be awful lot of fun. So the game was terrific. That element of it was terrific. And then obviously the post-game celebration. And, I'm a believer that you win a division, you go celebrate it, because winning a division is hard. It's 6 months. It's a 162 game grind. It's 7 months when you count spring training. And it's 8 months if you count the postseason. It is a grind like no other. It's a grueling test of your endurance, of your talent, of your performance, of your depth in your clubhouse, your leadership, your front office, everybody. It just tests you. So they get off to that awesome start. Had a little struggle in midsummer, but stayed afloat, and that counts for something, and then turned it on again. Little blip here at the end, but then they punched it home. So, you got to celebrate that thing, because division titles, like I said, for those reasons I mentioned, are special. It was funny. I thought this celebration was actually toned down a little bit from some of the previous ones we've seen the last 2 years. This was actually their 8th champagne celebration in the last 2 years. I don't think it's getting to be old hat, because this stuff never gets old. These type of celebrations and everybody coming together to kind of salute each other on the occasion of a great accomplishment. But I just got the feel that, this is a goal, and it was a big goal, but they have bigger champagne corks to pop along the way. And they have, they've carried that resolve all season. Getting knocked out by Arizona stung last year. They reported to spring training talking about it, how it was going to shape them, how it was going to shape their season and motivate them. And I don't think they have lost that. And though the division is nice, I just thought that celebration kind of told me that, this is a team that ain't going to be happy unless it's popping World Series corks.
Jim, you've been around the Phillies for a long time, and last night Aaron Nola became the winningest pitcher in Citizens Bank Park history. His numbers in these kind of clinching moments, whether it be to get in the playoffs, win a division title, wild cards, whatever it may be, are phenomenal. Talk a little bit about, Aaron Nola is going to go down as an all-time Phillies great pitcher. Talk about the importance of his last 2 starts here heading into the playoffs.
Well, you mentioned what he does in clinchers. He comes through in big games. The one that stands out to me, and there's a lot of them, but that clincher in Houston in 2022, they hadn't been to the postseason in 10 years, struggled in September, needed to beat a good team in Houston to get in, and he goes out and no-hits them for 6 2/3 innings. And, last night, another occasion where he pitched great in a clinching performance. So, this is the guy that pitched in front of 12,000 people as a teenager in on Friday nights at LSU. So he knows his way around for a long time around big game settings. And you're right, he's going to go down as a top 5 pitcher in Phillies history when it's all said and done. He's been a great one. I know he takes some punches to the gut now and then because, he can be susceptible to a big inning. Every pitcher has a flaw now and then, but when he's on, he is awfully good, and I think we should appreciate him for what he does. Well within his prime. In the short term, what does these last 2 starts do, Jamie, as you kind of asked? I don't know. Maybe it's the tipping point for Rob Thompson to say you're going to be number 2 in the postseason behind Wheeler, because I think, they probably had to be discussing, and maybe they still are, how they're going to line up their postseason rotation. Wheeler, Nola, Sanchez, Suarez, or Wheeler, Sanchez, Nola, because Sanchez has been so good and he pitches so well at home, and you'd have that game 2 at home. So things they have to weigh, but there is something to be said in a short series about trying to go for a kill early. And if Aaron Nola is going to pitch like this, maybe he's the guy you go number 2. Couple that with the experience he has, might be a good choice for Rob Thompson. So I'm sure they're going to be talking about that. Kind of a fascinating issue, but if Sanchez pitches the way he has been, Nola pitches the way he has been, it's a win-win kind of choice.
Yeah, that's a great point you bring up. There's some tactical decision making that can happen. To your point, of you just knowing a little bit more of what an Aaron Nola is going to bring to the mound come postseason time, versus maybe still trying to figure out with Sanchez. But in terms of the offensive side, somebody that's definitely has been phenomenal late, especially Kyle Schwarber. Last night gets his 100th RBI. We had talked about the history of back-to-back 100 RBI seasons, back-to-back seasons of 100 RBIs, 100 runs, 100 walks, which cements him in history for the Phillies and also across Major League Baseball. Huge moment last night to follow up after JT gets the 2-run homer for then Kyle to get the solo home run. Really felt like that took the air out of the Cubs' sails, so to speak, with that play. How big is it that last night we got the production from the top of the batting order? Something we've been talking a lot about when you get JT, Kyle, Trey, Nick, all the way through Bryce that are contributing at this point in September to really be able to put the pieces together just in time for the postseason around the corner.
Yeah, it was huge. I mean, Schwarber's been he's had a great season. I mean, you can debate who this team's MVP is. Maybe him, maybe Zach Wheeler. I don't know. You could probably debate it forever. But Schwarber's had a terrific year with 14 leadoff home runs, leading off game 14 times with home runs. But what makes that really impressive is they've won 13 of those games. You mentioned last night's home run. It was a dagger. It was a dagger that, finished the Cubs, his whole team. I'm sure it meant a lot to him. But you mentioned, having that top of the order clicking. It's a must. It's a must in October because your stars need to play like stars. You win with stars. And when your top guys aren't carrying the load, or when they slump a little bit, or they're chasing and striking out and leaving men on base, then this team has a history of struggling. If their stars, Schwarber, Realmuto, Harper, Bohm, Castellanos, if their big guns are firing, and the guys on the mound are locating and firing, and you're making plays and running the bases well, there's a lot to this game, but it all comes together. This team's tough to beat, but your stars need to play well. They played well last night. We know how good this team is when they're getting big contributions from their star players, and that's what's going to be needed. That's why they signed so many of these guys to $100 million contracts and $300 million contracts to deliver in October. And if this team's going to win, those guys need to come through for you. So it was a great sign they did last night. Got to build on it.
Jim, I'm curious, Ranger Suarez, I know the organization, I believe it was Matt Gelb wrote the piece, or was it Alex Coffey? All the writing's kind of blending in my head here, that they're trying to get more out of his legs ever since returning from the injury, and they might have seen a mechanical adjustment they can make here. They feel slightly encouraged that he's headed in the right direction. The unfortunate thing is time's running out here before the playoffs. What do you see as Rangers' role heading into the playoffs? How do you think Rob Thompson's going to use them? Obviously, if you get the bye, you can avoid the 3-game series, so he becomes a logical, I guess, Game 4 starter. What do you expect to see from Ranger heading into these playoffs?
I don't know. Rangers, one of those guys that slow heartbeat. Nothing really bothers him. He could roll out of bed and pitch a 2-hitter. He's that type of guy. But what we have seen lately is not what we saw in the first 2.5 months of the season. He has admitted that his leg strength has been slow coming around. It doesn't surprise me because he doesn't look to be in the best of shape, or at least peak shape. But if just sending him out there, he's healthy. I would expect Sanchez to pass him on the depth chart in the rotation, but that remains to be seen how they're going to go there. But I think Sanchez has pitched better and has earned either the second or third spot, depending on how they go there, like we talked about earlier. And Ranger just needs to finish strong here in the regular season and build some more strength, build some more confidence, because there's no reason he can't contribute, whether it's as a fourth starter in the first round, whether it's out of the bullpen. If you can
ask you, do you think Rob would go back to him in the bullpen like he has in the past?
Yeah, I think depending on how things line up, but they may need a fourth starter in that first series, depending on how things go. And I think if they need a fourth starter, he's the guy. If you get into a subsequent series and the off days cooperate, you can go with 3-man rotation. He could be a guy that could really help you out of the bullpen. He knows how to pitch. It's just about executing. He hasn't pitched up to his standards lately, up to the standards he set in the first half. But things can click. Things can click. There's still a lot there. And he's pitched in every role as a Philly. He's actually been a closer. He's been a long man in the bullpen. He's been a starter. He's been their best starter. So he can do a lot of things. It's actually a nice little option to have if he's pitching well. It's up to him to pitch well.
Yeah. Now, Jim, as we are closing down the regular season, obviously this is the last homestand. The final series is against the Nationals. Time is winding down. It's crazy that we're already talking about Red October being here, playoffs, all of this is here. As someone as you've been following the team all throughout the course of this season, I'm curious to know, as of this moment, looking at how they've been playing lately, what do you think? I know you've hit on this a lot for the playoffs in general. What's going to be the difference that makes or break this team? We've talked about so many different elements: the starting pitching, the bullpen, the offense. Obviously, it's all got to come together, as we know. But in your early prediction, what do you think is going to be the biggest key that is the difference maker for the Phillies to either be able to get further than they were the past 2 seasons, win a World Series, or to be a team that falls just short?
I point to little things. You got to play good defense. You got to get to the balls that aren't that the championship teams get to, the one that breaks the back of the opposition. Take a hit away here and there. Not necessarily make the routine plays, but not necessarily balls that are ruled errors, but make the difficult play to take away a hit from another team. Keep runners off base. I expect them to pitch well, so they think they need to be supported by good defense. But probably, I guess, the biggest difference maker is what we talked about early. Top of the batting order, right down to the bottom. Got to produce. We all know it. They can be a high strikeout team. They can chase a lot of fastballs out of the zone. They can chase breaking balls off the plate. I don't know if that's a result of pressing when you get behind, or sometimes it's just the pitching you face. So I think they need to get some early leads, play some good defense. Like I said, I expect them to pitch well, but be selective at the plate. Be selective at the plate. I don't like the word patient because if a guy comes with a cookie early in the count, you should be hammering it. So be selective. Lay off the junk off the plate, but it's hard to do because the game moves a million miles an hour. These are the best players in the world, but we've seen this offense when it's clicking, when it's driving in runners in scoring position, when it's swinging at pitches they should be swinging at, when it's laying off the pitches they should be laying off, and when they get clicking, they're awfully good. So you need Turner to be good. You need Harper to be good. You need Schwarber to be good. Bohm, Realmuto, all your studs need to be good. To kind of bring this thing, all together, kind of like we saw last night. You need to play a game like that. You need to play a bunch of games like that where everything kind of clicks.
Yeah, and the bullpen is pitching so well right now, Jim. It could be their biggest asset going into the playoffs. Final one for you from me. My heart kind of breaks a little bit for Zach Wheeler because this Cy Young race, and I know it's just an individual award, but he's talked about it. It means something to him. Should have had it 2 years ago. his numbers this year pretty much deserve it. It's neck and neck with Chris Sale. Chris Sale's probably going to get it, but the stats are closer than a lot of people realize. Baseball Justice says this man deserves his Cy Young at some point, Jim. When the hell is he going to get it?
He might get it this year.
Sale's got a chance.
I think, like you used the phrase "neck and neck." What does that mean?
Yeah, but I feel like the national narrative is that Sale just has it. You know,
I feel that way too. I feel like the national narrative is, like you said, that it's Sales. But when you see a guy up close and personal every day, and see the innings he gives you, you see the performance he's given you against top teams. Those could be separators, but I feel he should have won it 2 years ago. These numbers he's put up this season that he put up right now in 2024 is as good as any. Best season of his career, certainly worthy. I don't know how the vote's going to go, but Sale's got a big start, I think, Wednesday night, and Zach will have one more, though Rob has indicated he's not going to pedal to the metal him on Saturday in Washington. He's not going to go pedal to the metal, even if it means trying to get the best record in baseball, because he's going to protect this guy's health. He's going to protect Nola's health on Sunday.
Means 85 pitches, Jim, like roughly?
I don't know. I don't. 95 pitches, if they're high stress pitches, that's like 115. So I don't know. So it depends on what stress level how he looks. If he's sailing, who knows? So, but they're going to protect him, and I'm sure they're going to communicate with him through the start. But I agree with you. Sale might have this much on him, but Wheeler, by the weekend could have that much on Sale. It's going to be a very fascinating vote, and either one of them could get it. And like you
deserve
said,
it,
Yeah,
like you said, I mean, he should have won it 2 years ago because innings matter. But for some reason, they didn't matter on the ballot that year. He had like 5+ more starts than Corbin Burns, and I remember talking to Zach in spring training. He was legitimately ticked that he didn't win it. And I kind of applaud the honesty there.
Yeah, so do I. I love it.
A lot of guys would kind of say the right thing. No, he was ticked off that he didn't win it. He thought he should have won it. Said it. Came in this year saying he wants to win one. Hey, nothing wrong with setting goals, especially when you go and back it up like he did this year. Jimmy Rollins set an awfully big goal in 2007, and he went out and wore that every day and backed it up every day and won the MVP. So, you know what? You can back it up. More power to you.
And that's two great signs. When you think about, Wheeler should have won one and Bryce Harper has won one, you talk about two of the best free agent signings in franchise history all at the same time.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's great franchise. Wheeler, Harper, Schwarber, Real Muto's been a great signing. There's been,
so many good moves.
Yeah, the front office is, and I'll use plural because some of it goes back to Matt Clinching.
Yeah, sure.
Very true.
Ruben Amaro drafted, Aaron Nola. He went down and scouted him a couple times in Baton Rouge because they had a high pick and they needed a quick moving pitcher, and they were all in that. So, look, a lot of people have had their hands in this success and in ownership, spending the big tickets they have. And they've given us a lot to enjoy this season. But the prize is in October. This team will be defined by its performance in the month of October. And, can't wait to get it going. Last night was a lot of fun. 43,000 played great. That was the important thing. They played great, and they sewed it up. So really eager to see how October shapes up here.